years. It's gotten bigger each and every year, and obviously there's a great deal of interest in what Coach Kugler and his staff are doing here at UTEP. And speaking of Coach Kugler and his staff, he's going to describe to you the 24 young men who have signed national letters of intent to continue their playing careers and educations here at UTEP over the next several years. And among them, and I know for those of you that follow such things are aware that there are 7 El Pasoans among the 24 names that Sean's going to describe to you momentarily. Now, I've been here for 35 years. I can't ever remember a year in which 7 El Pasoans signed national letters of intent to play football and get their education and degree here at the University of University of Texas at El Paso. So as Sean says, it starts right here at home, and he has certainly followed up on those words as he has mined the very best and brightest of El Paso in 2016. And these young men will be following the likes of Aaron and Alvin Jones, Warren Reddix, Ryan Metz, Derek Elmendorf, and Alan Luna, as those that Coach Kugler and his staff in their first 3 years have signed from El Paso to aid this UTEP football program. So let's not waste any more time to announce the 2016 class of the Miners. Please welcome a man who is beginning his 4th year as the Miners head coach. So this is his 4th signing class. And I think he may have done maybe his best coaching job a year ago when we had an incredible string of injuries that took out so many key players across the board. And even after Aaron Jones went down before halftime of game number 2, the Miners were able to split their final 10 games without their most productive offensive player in the lineup. To talk about the 2016 UTEP football signing class, please welcome our head football coach, Sean Kugler.
Well, first off, I'd like to thank our entire staff. Countless hours were put into recruiting. It just doesn't happen over a course of a week or a month. They'll put an entire year, sometimes 2 years vested into some of these young men. And one of the main things that we try to do is get to know them as student athletes, get to know their families, get to know their character. And we really try to do our best job before we bring these players into our program, that we're going to bring the right type of players into our program. And I'm very excited to introduce this year's class. I think you'll hear me say a lot of the same words over and over again about these guys. You're going to hear me use words like production, productive players, guys that did it on film in high school. You're going to hear me talk about versatility, guys that have played on both sides of the ball, played different positions, can do a lot of things for our team. I always tell our players, the more you can do to help the team, the more successful we're going to be. You're going to hear me talk about physicality, one of the trademarks of our program, and you're going to see that on film as I show you some of these young men. And I really think that we upgraded our speed, not only at the skill positions, but I think when you see some of these linemen, some of these linebackers that we signed, I think you'll be very impressed. As John mentioned, we're going to sign 24 players today along the same lines of what we've been trying to do since we've been here. We're signing 23 of those 24 will be high school football players. We really believe in that. We are signing 1 junior college player who's already here on campus, and that's going to be our MO. We want to sign young players and develop them and let them grow into our program. 19 of those players that we're signing today are from the state of Texas. We really hit the state of Texas on all avenues hard this year, and that'll continue in the future. And as John mentioned, 7 of those players are from El Paso. Within the state of Texas, we signed the Texas 4A Player of the Year in Padres Wadley, and in El Paso for the 4th straight year, we've signed the El Paso Player of the Year in Richie Rodriguez. I think the other thing that'll stand out in this class is balance. We're signing 12 offensive players, 12 defensive players. On the defensive side of the ball is balanced within 4 defensive backs, 4 linebackers, and 4 D linemen. Although that can be very misleading because the linemen that we signed are all kind of hybrid type linemen, except for one. He has no choice other than to play nose guard because he's 350 pounds. but all the rest of the guys are guys that can play two positions. And many of our linebackers are hybrid type defensive ends that can play two positions. So versatility is going to be key. On the offensive side of the ball, we signed 2 wide receivers, one guy that I classified as an athlete, and I think you'll understand why when you watch him on film, 1 tight end, 1 quarterback that we signed from here in El Paso, very productive quarterback in Marc Torres, and we'll always sign linemen. We signed 3 offensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen for 7. I think you'll see a little change in the lineman signings because we have switched to a 3-4 defense with Coach Mason's scheme, and we're going to be signing more linebackers in the future, linebacker safety type players that can move to linebacker or linebacker type players themselves. So what I'll do right now, I'm going to go through each individual player, and then we'll show you a little highlight clip. We shorten the clips because there's 24 of these guys I'm going to show you, and I'll briefly describe those guys. The first player, as I already mentioned, Tiana Baya. He's from Washington, O'Day High School in Seattle. This guy is 6'3", 350 pounds. Now, this guy had an unbelievably productive junior year. His senior year, he broke his foot. Really, the only game that he played truly healthy his senior year, he was invited to an All-American All-Star game in Dallas, which he dominated. And he is all of 350. We threw him on the scale while he's here, okay? It only goes up to that. He played in the Blue-Gray All-American Bowl. In that game, he had 8 tackles, 6 tackles for loss and a sack, playing against other All-Americans. And this guy's an explosive guy. His junior season, he had 3.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. He's got a 3.3 GPA. All right, so he's in the mold of the type of young man we're trying to bring in this program. Tiana Baya. And you'll notice every time he makes a good play, he punches himself in the head. We got to kind of correct that problem. There he goes. He's going to hit himself in the head. There he goes. We'll teach him to do that to other people and stop doing it to himself. This kid's high energy. It was great having him on the trip. I think the Miner fans are really going to fall in love with this kid. The next kid I'm going to talk about is Sullivan. He's a defensive lineman. He's a hybrid type. He's a guy that can stand up, rush the passer, line up at defensive end. Once this guy fills into his body, there's no telling how big he's going to be. 6'7", 255 pounds. Right now he looks like a power forward, and he's very long and athletic. He started 3 years at Aldine Davis. He led the team in most of their defensive categories, 53 tackles, 13.5 for loss, 8.5 sacks, 11 pass breakups, 7 quarterback hurries, 4 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. That's dang good production for a defensive end. This is a guy that also played basketball for 3 seasons, very versatile. Sullivan. He's not hard to spot on film. This guy was a 3-star recruit on Rivals.com, and he was 2015 Greater Houston High School Rotary Lombardi Award Watch list, which goes to the most outstanding lineman in Houston. The next player I'm going to talk about is from here in El Paso, Parkland High School, Christian Johnson. He's a hybrid type guy. He's lined up at linebacker. He's played linebacker inside and out. He's also played defensive end. Very productive career. Played 4 seasons at Parkland. He saw action in 39 games, racked up 180 tackles, 10 for loss. In his career, he had 33.5 sacks, 45 quarterback hurries, and 5 fumble recoveries. That's the type of production that we're looking for. Outstanding young man, very athletic, DN linebacker. He was named to the El Paso Times All-City team, and he also played in the El Paso Showcase All-Star game. Christian Johnson. The next young man I'm going to talk about is also from El Paso, Montwood High School, which will be the third Montwood Ram that we've signed in the last 2 years. Josh Ortega, he's going to play nose guard and defensive end for us. He's 6'2", 275 pounds. He played 3 seasons of varsity. Senior season had 40 tackles in 8 games, added 4 sacks, 2 pass defended, forced fumble recovery, and 4 hurries. Very productive for an interior guy. He was all-city first-team defense and also played in the El Paso All-Star game, which he dominated in that game. Josh Ortega. Very physical player. I'm going to go to the segment of defensive backs, and I think as I describe all these guys, very versatile. Most of these guys played on both sides of the ball. We're either a quarterback or a wide receiver, and the thing I like about all these guys is they hit. And I'm looking for defensive backs that are physical, and I think you'll see that on all these guys. The first guy is from Los Angeles, California, Los Angeles High School. His name is Justin Rogers, has good size, 5'11", 185. He played cornerback and wide receiver. On defense, 96 tackles, 6 interceptions, 10 pass breakups. Offensively, 2,500 yards on 90 receptions, a 28.7 yard average, very explosive, 25 touchdowns, also had 313 yards rushing on 30 carries, and a career-long 90-yard touchdown. All told, he tallied over 3,000 all-purpose yards. So this is a guy that could do a lot of different things for us, Justin Rogers. He was named All-City on the offensive team and the defensive team back-to-back years. That's a pretty neat ringtone right there. The next young man I'm going to talk about, Broderick Harrell, also has good size, 5'11", 195 from Friendship High School. Again, this is a two-way athlete, played cornerback and wide receiver. At cornerback, he had 73 tackles, 2 interceptions. All right. Offensively, he had 312 all-purpose yards. All right. His senior season alone, 69 tackles, 15 pass breakups, tackle for loss, and 12 receptions for 301 yards. Very versatile two-way player. This guy is a hitter. Broderick Harrell. The next young man I'm going to talk about is from here in El Paso, America's High School, Eric Foster. This is a multi-purpose athlete, played quarterback, played receiver. He was a returner. We had him here at our El Paso High School camp, and we played him at DB, and he dominated the camp. And that's what we're going to recruit him as. Got great size, 6', 185. As a quarterback and wide receiver, he threw for 1,200 yards and only 4 interceptions. Ran it 164 times for 976 yards and 10 scores. And he had 356 yards and 4 touchdowns and 103 yards rushing in a score in a game against Eastwood. Eric Foster. First team All-City offense, also played in the El Paso Showcase All-Star game. This guy did a little bit of everything for Americus. This next young man I'm going to talk about, Joseph Pickney, I would describe him not as a hitter, I'd describe this guy as a headhunter. This is a very physical guy. He's a dual sport guy, football and track, and he played cornerback and safety for Crosby High School in Texas. As a career, he totaled 224 tackles. That's outstanding. 6 for loss, 16 pass breakups, 1 sack, 2 quarterback hurries, and 6 interceptions. And this guy's forced several fumbles. He was named All-State second team, and he was a 2-time All-District first team, and he also was a 4-year regional qualifier for track. This guy can run, find the ball, and hit you when he gets there. Joseph Pickney. 6 foot, 185. This is another guy that's got good size. He could probably grow into a couple different positions. I see you smiling, Coach Mason. That got me a little excited right there. This next guy is very physical, played in an outstanding high school program. His name is Sione Toome. 5'11", 240 from Allen, Texas. Now, Allen's one of the top programs in the country. They've won a state championship. They were 14-1 this year, ranked 16 in the nation. During the senior year, he had 42 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 10 quarterback hurries, and 5 forced fumbles. This is a guy that's been a defensive end. He's been a linebacker. He could do a lot of things in our defensive scheme in the 3-4. As a junior, he had 72 tackles, 4 sacks, and as I mentioned, they won the state title that year. Very violent player. He was 2015 All-District First Team, and he was selected to play in the 2016 Polynesian All-American Bowl. This next young man is a very good-sized linebacker. Again, this is a guy that's played defensive end. He's stood up. He's played linebacker. He could be an outside linebacker in a 3-4. He could also line up at DN. He's 6'2", 260 pounds from Dobie High School. His name is Deadrick Simpson. During his senior season, 69 tackles, 10 for loss, 3 sacks, 3 pass breakups. He also played tight end and fullback. Again, he's very versatile. As a junior, 64 tackles, 14 for loss, 10 sacks, and 11 quarterback hurries. He's back-to-back first-team All-District and first Dobie High School football player to earn a Division I scholarship in 10 years. And I'm sure they're very excited about that. We are too. Deadrick Simpson. He's a 260-pound athlete that can move. This next young man is from San Angelo, Texas. Again, a hybrid type guy. He's played outside linebacker. He's played defensive end, and to tell you how versatile he is, he returned punts for San Angelo High School in San Angelo, Texas. Dylan Parsi, linebacker, 6'2", 210. Defensive end, linebacker, and punt returner, registered 112 tackles, 11 for loss, 8 sacks, 5 punt returns, 1 interception, and 1 forced fumble. Extremely productive. He was named at the 2015 All-West Texas Super Team, and he was a two-time All-District honoree. You'll see on film, extremely long arm. This kid's going to grow into be a big cat. He reminds me a lot of Nick Usher. This next young man is a hard-hitting free safety. They played him about 8 or 9 yards outside the box. Definitely a guy that we're going to convert to linebacker. He has that build already. He's 6 foot, 205 pounds. He'll get bigger. He's a dual sport guy. He's a track long jump guy as well. He played free safety, combined for 59 tackles, 3 quarterback hurries, 1 pass breakup, and 2 tackles for loss. He was named Texas 6A Honorable Mention All-State, First Team All-District, 2015 and 14. Colby McGarry. There's another guy that loves to run and hit. Guy that could do a lot of different things for us. Now moving to the offensive side of the ball, I listed this guy as an athlete. I think you could call him a multi-purpose guy. His name is Walter Dawn. He's a 3-star recruit on Scout.com. He was first team all-district offense. He's like a little go-go gadget. You watch the video games, you see the guy spinning and doing all this stuff. That's this guy. 70 pounds. During his senior year, listen to this, 746 yards rushing for a 7-yard average. 44 receptions, 858 yards, 19.5-yard average receiving. He had 402 all-purpose yards in 1 game. This guy's explosive. He's a kick returner. He's a punt returner. He was 2015 All-District First Team, Walter Dawn from Mesquite, Texas, Poteet High School. .10.3 is blazing. I think I ran a 10.3 in college, but that was in the 40. I used to race Ed, beat him every time. This guy's lined up everywhere for him. Wildcat quarterback, running back, wide receiver. When he gets a crease, he's gone. Walter Dawn. The next young man is from El Paso, Texas, Chapin High School, who had a great season this year. Brandon Bullitt, 6 foot, 210. He's a big receiver. Size-wise, he reminds me a lot of Jordan Leslie that played for the Miners. Big physical receiver, extremely productive. He led the district in receptions, 66, receiving yards, over 1,500, and touchdowns, 22 in only 12 contests. His receiving scores ranked 7th in the state and 29th in the nation. He had a rushing score and an interception for a pick 6 as well. He was named to the Scout.com First Team All-State in the state of Texas. He was all-district first team, and he also played in the El Paso All-Star Showcase. Brandon Bullitt from Chapin. Track kid as well, great speed for his size. The next young man was Player of the Year in the city of El Paso, and as I mentioned before, this will be the 4th straight year that we've signed the Player of the Year in the city of El Paso. Richie Rodriguez from Eastwood High School, 5'9", 175. We talk about production, listen to this. During his senior season alone, he led the state of Texas with 1,709 yard receiving. 5th in receptions with 95, 9th in touchdown catches with 21. He registered 9 100-yard receiving games, including 2 over 220 yards. He had 319 yards rushing for a 6.6 average on 48 carries and threw a pair of touchdowns on 5 completions, 1 for 80 yards. This guy can do it all. That's why he was Player of the Year in the city of El Paso. Richie Rodriguez, he's also a dual sport guy that plays basketball, and I didn't believe him being 5'9", but he can dunk. He showed me a picture. This guy is electric. How about this? In his career, he scored 53 touchdowns. He was first team All-State, according to the old coach Class 6A All-State team. He also played in the El Paso All-Star Showcase and was first team All-District. Richie Rodriguez. The next young man, you got to be a kind of an offensive line guy to appreciate this. This guy is a blocking tight end. He reminds me a lot of Catray Ford that played here. This guy is nasty. His name is Marana Noel. Really loved having this young man on the visit. I think he hugged me about 30 times on his visit. He's really excited about being here. I got kind of excited myself. This he's long-armed. He's 6'3", 240-pound tight end, and he is physical. He had 42 pancakes. That's taking somebody off their cleats and putting them on their back his senior year alone. He was 2-time All-District, first team, and he only had 1 catch this year. That tells you how tough he is. All right, this guy's well known as a blocker, Marana Noel. After he signed his scholarship today, he got on the phone, he was screaming, "Coach, I'm hungry, I'm hungry." And he just kept saying it over and over again. I said, well, you better get something to eat then. One of the best blocking tight ends I've seen come out of high school in a long time. Coach Nacken's going to turn him into a receiver and break him of this habit of throwing his hands up as soon as he's open. Marana Noel. This next guy can be classified as a big back. We love having all different sizes, speeds, change-ups, but this guy is, he's one speed. He just runs you over. His name's Kevin Dove. He's from El Campo High School. He's 6 foot tall, 250 pounds, and I think you'll see on the film how nimble and athletic he is. You want to talk about toughness? When I was in the home with Coach Jackson, I said, you know what, Kevin, what do you like to do? You know, what are your hobbies? Off the field, what do you enjoy doing? He goes, Coach, I break horses. I go, you do what? He goes, I break horses. He goes, I get thrown off and I kind of get the wild horses and I break them down so they're tame. And he had scars all over his legs. He goes, this is where the horse kicked me. This is where the horse threw me off right here. I said, you know what? You're going to be perfect. In his career, he recorded 1,964 yards, 8.4 per attempt, 30 touchdowns. That's not his career, excuse me. That's his senior season, 1,900 yards rushing. He had 183 yards and 5 touchdowns in 1 game versus Bay City. This guy's tough. During his sophomore year on defense, this guy played linebacker on defense, 61 tackles, 3 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. Now this is his career stats. 4,196 yards rushing, 60 touchdowns. He earned back-to-back district MVP honors following his junior and senior season. He was first team All-District, Defensive Newcomer of the Year as a sophomore. He was Class 4A All-State Honorable Mention, 2014 and 15. And this is the first time I heard of this award. The 2014 Collins Street Bakery Class 4A All-State Football Team. I guess if you're a 250-pound running back, you're going to be on the Bakery's All-State Football Team. Kevin Dove. Now this is impressive speed right here for a 250-pound back. Kevin Dove from El Campo. This next young man is from Baltimore, Maryland, played at Gilman High School. Gilman this year was ranked final 13th in the nation in USA Today. Antonio Dupree, this is another big back. He's 5'11", 225 pounds. This year he rushed for 1,420 yards, 7.4 average, 14 touchdowns, and 155 receiving yards. He rushed for 123 yards in the 2015 Crab Bowl, which is basically the all-star game in Baltimore, and he was named All-Metro First Team Offense, All-District, and he was a 3-star recruit on 247sports.com. Antonio Dupree. I'd mentioned we already signed the El Paso Player of the Year. Padres Wadley, a running back from Kennedale High School, was the Texas 4A Player of the Year, the entire state of Texas. All right. This is his senior stats. He's 6 feet, 180. It's got him listed here as 250. That's not right. I wish he weighed 250. That'd be scary. He rushed for 2,511 yards, 11.2 yard average. 45 touchdowns his senior year alone. That's why he was a Texas Player of the Year. He returned 9 kickoffs for 319 yards. That's a 5.4 average and a score. And he registered 10 games of over 100 yards rushing and 2 of over 300 yards rushing. This guy's a special player. He reminds me a lot of Aaron Jones, although when Aaron Jones came out of high school, he weighed 165. This kid weighs 180, and he's going to be a big kid when it's all said and done. Outstanding player, Padres Wadley. As I mentioned, Aaron Jones, if you go way back, this guy's got some John Harvey in him too. Ed, you're kind of like a little heckler sitting in the front row. I'm gonna have to move you back. As I mentioned, he was 4A Offensive Player of the Year. He was named First Team All-State, and he's a 3-star recruit on Scout.com. Next young running back is from Friendship High School, same teammate as Broderick Harrell, Ronald Dawat, 5'11", 195, excellent student. He led during the senior year 1,500 yards rushing, 9 touchdowns, and he led the district in rushing. He was named All-District, Offensive Player of the Year, All-State Honorable Mention. Ronald Dawat from Friendship High School. As I mentioned, he's an outstanding student. He was recruited by all the Ivy League schools. Never got recruited by them. So those are the 4 running backs we signed. You see they all have different talents. We signed 1 quarterback this year, as we'll do every year, and it's El Paso's own Marc Torres from Eastwood High School. 6 foot, 185, very athletic, very mobile quarterback, unbelievable production in his high school career. This is his 12-game senior season. He led the district in passing, over 3,800 yards and touchdowns. He threw for 41 touchdowns. He had a 71% completion percentage, which is outstanding, and only had 9 interceptions. He averaged 319 yards passing per game. He rushed for over 227 yards and a pair of scores in a win over Franklin, and passed for 312 and ran for another 154 for 5 touchdowns in a win over El Dorado. This guy can do it all. He was named District 1-6A Offensive MVP. He was named All-District First Team, wrapped up 9 Player of the Week awards, not bad, and he played in the 24th Annual Greater El Paso Showcase. This guy's an outstanding player, and as he gets bigger in the weight room, I think he's going to be a special quarterback for us in the future. Marc Torres. I think what he gives us on our team is we have 4 very mobile quarterbacks that can run. And he's right along with that group. Now we saved the best for the last, all right? We always introduce the linemen, all right? My favorite part. And when you read about linemen, there's no stats to read about. You know, unless they had a bunch of holding calls or they ate the most food on their team, there's really not a lot to say about them. But this is Tanner Stallings. He's the one lone junior college player that we recruited. He's a center. We signed him because Eric Lee graduated. So when we take a junior college player, it's to fill a need. And when we take a junior college player, we expect them to come in and contribute. This guy is an outstanding student. He was academic Hutchinson New Academic Honors with a 3.85 GPA. As a senior, the offensive unit posted 6 showings of 200 yards plus on the ground. That means he's been in a program that likes to run the football, much like our own. He was NJCC Offensive Player of the Week, which is hard to do for a lineman. And this guy is a physical player. Tanner Stallings from Hutchinson Community College in Kansas, 6'1", 300-pound center. I liked him on his visit because he says he changes his own oil and fixes his own truck, so I ain't got to worry about him. Tanner Stallings. The next young man is also from Mountainwood High School here in El Paso, Bobby Dejalo. We first found Bobby, he came to our camp 2 years ago. He ran a 4.95 40, weighing 250 pounds at the time. Well, now he's 6'4", 270 pounds. This is a very athletic, physical offensive lineman that I think with time in the weight room is going to be a 300-pounder that can move. Montwood quarterbacks averaged 255 yards passing a game, and they stayed pretty clean, probably because of him and Josh Ortega. He was named to the El Paso Times All-City First Team All-District for the second consecutive year, and he also played in the El Paso All-Star Game. Bobby Dejalo from Montwood. He got a little nasty in him. Next young man is from Covington, Washington, Kentwood High School. Offensive lineman, but also was athletic enough to play defensive end in high school. Jared Goldwater. This kid's 6'6" when we measured him on his trip, 300 pounds. Very long, and he's lean. As a senior, he saw action in 8 games, recorded 63 tackles, 12 for loss, 7 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles as a defensive end. He was named Northwest All-League First Team Defense following his senior season. He's going to play offensive tackle for us. Very athletic. Jared Goldwater. That's a pretty good beard for high school. Okay, so that concludes our 2016 signing class. I think that you can see the things that we're looking for are guys that are productive on film, guys that are versatile, can do many things for their team. We have switched schemes to a 3-4 defense, so I think you're going to see more of a trend of those type guys being signed every year. I think we really upgraded our speed, but most importantly, we added some character young men to add to our program. I really feel strongly about our program moving forward. I think we got an outstanding group of coaches. I'd like to introduce the new coaches right now. Coach Tom Mason, defensive coordinator, is going to coach linebackers. Talk about versatile. Don Yanowski, where you at? Don's going to coach safeties. He's also going to be the assistant special teams coordinator with Coach Nacken, and he's also going to be our new recruiting coordinator. He's done it all in his career, and very happy to have him here as well. Theron H., where you at? Theron is going to coach the wide receivers for us this year, and all 3 of these guys jumped in head first as far as recruiting. All of them signed players in a very short period of time. Brent Pease, where you at? And Brent Pease is the offensive coordinator, also is going to work with the quarterbacks and sit in the offensive meetings. I'm very excited about the direction that that's headed. Very wide open offense, very versatile, and you see the type of athletes we're trying to add. He's going to have a lot of toys to play with in the future. So again, I want to thank the entire staff for their countless hours of work. And at this juncture, we get ready for spring football. We get ready for the upcoming season. Spring football for us this year will be a little unique. We have about 9 guys that are still recovering from surgeries that will not be able to participate in spring ball, but that'll give us a great opportunity to look at some of the younger athletes on our team, implement our offense and defensive scheme, and get those guys healthy. The good news is Dawn has informed me all of those guys will be healthy and ready to go for the 2016 season. Extremely excited about the schedule. We have 7 home games this year, okay? Unlike last where we had 5, we have 7, and we open up with the Aggies here in front of a packed-out Sun Bowl, and then we head to Texas to play Texas at Texas. So a very exciting start to our season, and we got to get to work on it, and we'll get to work right now. We'll have a couple days off to rest after recruiting, and then we hit the ground running on Monday, preparing for this season. I thank you for your time. I thank you for coming, and I appreciate every single one of you and all the support you give to our program. Thank you.
Sean, and the spring game is April 15th, is that correct?
Spring game is April 15th at 7 o'clock.
Okay, right here in the Sun Bowl. Want to thank again our sponsor, Forest Tire. Want to thank all of our friends at Grace Gardens. Want to thank all of you that took the time to be with us. It shows the great interest that there is in UTEP football and UTEP athletics. Want to thank all of you that bought tables and seats for this event. Want to thank all of you watching on UTEPathletics.com. It is a busy week for us. We shift our focus next to basketball. Thank you very much for being with us, and go Miners.